Reverend Dr. Eseta Mateiviti-Tulavu. They are both teachers, by the way. They are trained teachers, and one continues to work as a teacher, while the other has left teaching for other interests. So let me talk about Quandolita first. Teacher by profession, she worked in the education sector for 16 years, and then she pursued her interest into other project management with UNDP, and currently she works for the Ministry of Women, Community and Social Development as program manager for the Samoa Disability Partnership Program in Samoa. She is the eldest of 5 siblings and a mother to 2 boys and 1 girl. She's in the church. She is currently the Moana Children's Ministry Coordinator for the Samoa Archdeaconry. She's also the treasurer for the Samoa Association of Anglican Women, and she's lay synod rep and a member of the All Saints Samoa Vestry. Dr. Eseta, you can find on page 6. There's a good explanation of Dr. Eseta that's written there. She's chaplain, Tokoni, and lecturer at the Anglican Church in Aotearoa, New Zealand, and Polynesia. I'll tell you some more things that's not in there. Well, you can read that. She has a PhD, an MA, STTC, postgrad diploma in theology, and a BA, which she attained in the University of the South Pacific in Fiji. She is the eldest of 3, 2 brothers, and she's the only girl, and she's mother to 2 girls and a boy. Reverend Eseta has been residing in New Zealand for more than 10 years, since she came to do her master's and her PhD, and she has stayed back in New Zealand to assist at the college. I will now request Ms. Quandolita Reid-Enari to take us through Weaving Success, a Samoan ideology.
Good morning. Before I start, I will not let you off the hook. You just had breakfast, so stand up, find a space where you can move, please. It's an easy exercise. The words are watermelon, you say it twice. Watermelon, watermelon. And then pineapple, pineapple. Banana, banana. Fruit salad. So this is how it goes. Watermelon, watermelon, pineapple, pineapple, banana, banana, fruit salad. That's our exercise. Yeah, we'll start again. Watermelon, 1, 2. Thank you. You can sit down now. Talofa, as I've been introduced, my name is Quandolita, and my name is a combination of the 1970s song, Tell Me When Would You Be Mine, Tell Me Quando Quando. I'm an identical twin, and the eldest of 6 children, 4 boys and 1 girl. Sorry, 4 girls, 1 boy. I'm a mother of 2, as I've been introduced, 2 boys, 1 girl, teacher by profession, and a researcher in my own right. I'm of Samoan descent, and I'm proud of my Samoan heritage. I'm happy to be here, to be the voice of our Samoan women and ladies, and to celebrate the giftedness of women through the work of their hands. Where are we, and who are we? Samoa officially got independent in 1962, and the country was referred to as Western Samoa until 1997. The capital city is called Apia and is home to about 38,000 people. Officially, it's a Polynesian island country located in the central South Pacific Ocean. Lies east of the international dateline and south of the equator, between latitudes 13 degrees south and longitude 171 degrees west, halfway between Hawaii and New Zealand. About 188,000 people live in Samoa, and they speak Samoan and English, and it covers an area of 1,093 square miles. 60% of it is covered in forest. Samoa consists of 2 islands called Savaii and Upolu, and several smaller islands and islets. The largest island of Samoa is Savaii, and the most populated island is Upolu. Both islands are of volcanic origin. 90% of all Samoans are Christians, and over 99% of the population over 15 years can read and write. The national colors are red, white, and blue. In 2011, Samoa skipped a day across the international dateline. Since then, Samoa is one of the first countries to welcome the new year, together with Kiribati and Tonga. And the move was done to improve ties with business partners in Australia and New Zealand to the west that became a day ahead. Before I continue, I understand that events such as this, it is customary to pay respect to elders of this land, past, present, and emerging, acknowledging and celebrating their culture and deep connections to land and water. In celebrating the giftedness of women and our gathering here today in Aotearoa, New Zealand, I would like to similarly acknowledge traditional custodians of your lands and water, noting especially the particular role women played in this regard. Talo Falava, the language of traditional custodians of my homeland, Samoa. I bring greetings from our small parish of All Saints Anglican Church, Leififi, Apia, Samoa. I would like to start this presentation with this langisolo, or a poem that tributes to Samoan ladies, Samoan Tamaitai. I'll read it in Samoan, and there's a translation next to it. O tinam Tamaitai Samoa, o whenga inga tausi a ainga. O tamasa, o sa'awao ma'aunga whaapai. O I oi mata o lātou tuangane. E o si taulanga I ai tamatane I aso umalo lātou wola. O tinama Tamaitai Samoa, o tongi ola mo lātou ainga ma le atu nuu. E whaamoe moe I ai se to manga whaaola. E whaalango-lango I ai ati nae ma le ngao sia o a Samoa I o lātou whaivalo filima. O pae ma auli, e whaato a file muina ni wheesesea inga. O to ala whanau o ainga, o nuu e ka le sia ma le atu nuu atoa. E lātou te whaaua wina lai nau ngafa ma se o tanga o tangata. E whananau mai le lalolangi mo lātou toki. O pine o le whaaeina e o lātou whaasinamanga. Ma o suli o suafa ma ele ele, o oni pēnina tautele. The poem speaks of the cultural significance of females and women and ladies in the Samoan culture. It talks of its roles and responsibilities of a Tamaisai Samoa, a Samoan lady. It talks about the ideology of their survival, the principles of their way of life, and their identities as Samoan women. This will set the pace for this presentation, focusing on the cultural and traditional roles and responsibilities of the Samoan lady, or the woman, the maiden, and the female counterparts. I would like to firstly apologize for this presentation, as it is based on the culture, Samoan culture. Much of the language will be the use of Samoan proverbs and sayings to recount, narrate, communicate, share, and connect the theme and the work of women in Samoa. Today's presentation is titled Weaving Success, a Samoan Ideology. The work of the women brings success and achievement for the family, village, and the church. The presentation is in fourfold. 1, looking at the theme for this hui, many hands make light work. How is this related to me, my culture, and my being a female, a lady, a woman, and a mother? 2, I will share the status of women in Samoa. Where are women in the social status, social standing of Samoa? How are they perceived in everyday lives? How are we transformed? How are we respected? Who are we in our country and our culture? Thirdly, I will speak of the giftedness of women through the work of their hands. Hands that keep families, villages, and church together. Hands that support families, villages, and the church. Hands that produce and nurture new life. And hands that heal, the skills and their talented hands. And I will finish off with a short story of my life. Guidance for this presentation is derived from the Iatonga, or the fine mat ideology. I'm using the fine mat as an analogy. The Iatonga is a specially finely woven mat that is an important item of cultural value in Samoa, commonly referred to in English as fine mat. The Iatonga are never used as an actual floor mat in the Western sense, but it functions only as an item of cultural value. They are considered the most precious item in ceremony and gift exchanges in the Samoa. They represent most of the traditional wealth of Samoan families. Iatonga are valued by the quality of the weave and the softness of the shine of the material. They are made by women and form an important part of their role, their identity and skill in the community. It is a highly prized treasure, o taonga. In Samoan customs and way of life, it is important. It is reflected in the names given to it in our Samoan society. It is called Ia le Fa'alelenga, or the cloth of reconciliation. The Iatonga is used to settle disputes and conflicts, to reconcile with the victim's family or between villages. It is also called Pulo'oleola, or shroud of life. When you are covered with the fine mat, you are saved. Despite whatever wrongs you have done, when one is covered with the fine mat and accepted by the victim's family, you live to see the light of day. Lafitanga o le wanga sala, the shield of the sinner. The Iatonga is used to seek forgiveness. This illustrates the different hats and the many works by the women in fulfilling their roles and responsibilities as a Tamaitai Samoa. Like the fine mat, women are highly prized, precious and respected in Samoan society. They are our taonga, our prized treasure. The fine mat itself is a symbol of life. It is sacred, restores peace, and is offered to settle disputes and conflicts. The Iatonga depicts, portrays, shows, illustrates, and represents the life of a Samoan tamaitai. The small squares, the designs, or the fiber, represents the people, the women, who weave and tie together these small squares and raise the fabric. This represents the role and characteristics of women to keep and remain in the fabric of covenant. It is the collaborative work, united, our unique mission, and power we get from one another, the designs of their hairs. The unwoven fringe on the hanging fiber pays tribute to the many roles and responsibilities that are associated with the women, the never-ending work of their hands, the interwoven characteristics of their being human. The strips of feathers, or we call it the ula, is a display of the colorful work of the hands of women, the feathers that flock together. the togetherness of the hands that make the work and get things done, the different but connected inputs, contributions, support, skills and talent offered for the different callings they have been called to serve. In admiration of a completed woven fine mat, it is publicly acknowledged with the phrase, "Sa'o fa'alalilei." It is admiration of the ritual of the creation of such a fine taonga that evokes a sense of love. It's the admiration of the work, the hands of women. The process of weaving a fine mat or ia tonga can take months of work and have been known to take years. The completion of a ia tonga can involve a public celebration and presentation with the women parading and displaying their fine mats for all to see. Weaving a fine mat is the work of female members of the family and villages. A ia tonga is hand-woven with great skills, with fibers so fine that it could take months or years to complete. The theme, "Many hands make light work," or in our language, "O le tele o lima e mamaai se avenga," in the Samoan context, covers thematic, proverbial, and idiomatic expressions. The hand is the most frequently symbolized part of the human body. It gives blessing. It is expressive. Thematically, its connection is not only the hands that are involved, it's the whole being. And light in this thematic expression means easy. So the strength does not come from one person alone. It comes from many beings working together. Further, it connects to one of the proverbs, "Te leo sulu e mawai fi ngota." Sulu in this expression is hands, eyes, beings, working together to get more fi ngota or more seed delicacy. And with all available hands putting their ideas and skills together into good use, the burden or work becomes lighter. Proverbial or familiar or well-known expressions that speak of the tasks that are large becoming easily completed or done when everybody helps out. When people share the workload or a task, it is done easily. Similarly, when you work alone, you do so little, but working together, you can achieve so much. One of the proverbs, "E vaveta unu'u le malanga pe a tātou walo va'a whātasi." It looks at paddling and canoeing. Samoans are known as tangata folau, or sea voyages. Similarly, we can reach our destiny quicker when we paddle together. The idea that a grand task is made easier by many hands, shouldering the same burden. Similarly, people coming together for a cause to protect someone or a precious asset. People unite in the face of hardship, difficulty, and adversity. Idiom or sayings and phrases speaks of challenges encountered, but will always achieve. Any job is achievable when many working together to complete, and with many people to implement a job, the quicker it will be completed. The many people that work together provide strength. It also goes to say that individual commitment contributes to teamwork, making society and civilization work. The second part of the presentation is the status of women in Samoa. In the Samoan culture, females hold high prestigious role and status within the family, as they are considered tamasa, or sacred offspring. They are whianganga tausi, or sacred covenants. They are referred to as the pupil of their brother's eyes. This belief is further strengthened in the concept of whiangainga, which is a sacred covenant of respect held between a brother and sister, whereby the brother gives special honor to his sister. They are sacred covenants, sacred offsprings, and their wombs bear heirs and sustain family lineages. They are peacemakers and redeemers. They are the pupils of their brother's eyes, and they put family and village affairs in order and establish harmony. Their hands produce cultural and traditional wealth, valuable artifacts, and treasures. The meaning of whiangainga is the sacred covenant. This is between the respect between a brother and sister. In this relationship, the brother is obligated to serve and protect his sister. Not only that, but as a sacred child, the sister's curse is something to be feared. So the brother's service and tautua is vital and must please the sister. The whiangainga relationship is founded on the values of respect or fa'aloalo, relational space between people, whawhialoai, respectful space, whawhiso'otai, connecting space, whawhetufai, sharing space, and whatapuia, sacred space, and whawhewhaasoai, a consultative space. These core values are instilled in both parties and indeed form the basis for their daily lives. All matters relating to the welfare of the family are to be discussed and agreed upon by both parties. In the eyes of the Whaasamoa, or the Samoan culture, women is a sacred covenant. Whiangangi tausi, ko le tāmasa. This means once a baby girl is born into a family, every family member's job is to nurture and protect her. All the elderly women of the extended family prioritize looking after this girl, protect and care for her, because she is the covenant. They will care, protect, and look after her until she gets married. Then they can let her go. She is every family member's priority. She is the person who eats second after the family chief. She sits in the front of the house. Her responsibility is the inside of the house, not outside. The man's responsibility is to serve and to care for this sacred child. Her male siblings protect and care for her with utmost respect and love, hence the phrase "i'oi mata," or pupil of the brother's eye. The whiangainga is a respected status that comes with serious responsibilities. She is called the pae male auli, meaning she maintains peace and harmony, symbolizing her role as the peacemaker. Her role is to model peace within the family, and she resolves any conflicts and frictions within the family. In times where the brother is in strife, she steps in, even to the extent where she offers her life to save the brother. She is the whaioa, or the producer, the maker of cultural wealth and valuables, such as fine mats, tapa, and sleeping mats. These cultural items are essential not only as ceremonial gifts, but also for their crucial meaning in some of the ceremonial actions imposed by custom. For instance, in the ifonga, or the act of apology, the fine mat is used to cover the culprit. It symbolizes the act of protecting the culprit from harm, and in doing so, the culprit is forgiven. To add to these responsibilities, the sister's role as tausala has two different meanings and in different scenarios. One meaning refers to the sister's role as the redeemer, the price of payment for families' indecent or unlawful act, while the other meaning denotes her dignity and the way that the whiangainga carries the honor of her family. It is in this role that she has to maintain her purity and virginity. Otherwise, she will bring shame upon the whole family. The sister, in her role as tausala, is also given the honor of concluding all ceremonial activities. All these strengths are brought together in a Samoan saying, "E aulei na ilawa ta maitai," meaning women can do anything. Status of women in the village and society. Samoan society tends to be patriarchal, and this is reflected in the household structure. Women often maintain the home and take care of children, while men are seen as the primary income providers. Men are typically the decision makers. However, matriarchs are not uncommon. Women in Samoa have equal access to education and health services, employment opportunities, the protection of laws, and to decision-making positions at all levels within the family, community, and government. There has always been recognition and support in Samoa of the multiple roles women perform in the home, community, church, and their professions. Christianity and what it means for women's decision-making today in Samoa include they are the backbone of the church, they are the main fundraiser, the implementers, and the main providers for church activities. They contribute to the development of the church through their participation in different units of the church. They perform multiple tasks in the home, community, church, and their profession. But in terms of women taking leadership roles, such as becoming ordained ministers, they continue to be disadvantaged. Status of women in government. Recognizing the vital contribution that women can and should make to national development, the Samoan government created a Ministry of Women's Affairs, now known as the Ministry of Women, Community and Social Development, which is responsible for the formulation and implementation of programs and projects for enhancing the social and economic status of women in the country. The government appointed a Women's Advisory Committee to advise the Minister for Women Affairs on matters of interest concern women committees and organizations. The establishment of the Ministry of Women Affairs by Act of Parliament in 1920 demonstrates the high regard the government of Samoa has for its women and their contribution to the development of Samoa economically, socially, politically, and spiritually. Samoa is one of the few countries of the world that has a national holiday for women, the Monday after Mother's Day Sunday. The four functions of the Ministry for Women Affairs is to provide policy advice, deliver and monitor programs for women in the villages, coordinate women programs in the villages, and support village governance. The National Council of Women was also established by government. They also have Suita Maitai Nu'u Masuyo Le Malo. These are the ladies who look after affairs of women in the villages. And some of the celebrations that government have in place to celebrate women is a Mother's Day holiday after Mother's Sunday, the International Day for Rural Women, International Women's Day, CDOR, CRC, and the 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence. And every 25th of every month is Orange Day to raise awareness and take action to end violence against women and girls. And Thursdays in Black to say no to abuse, rape, and domestic violence. The third part of the presentation is the giftedness of women. This section of the presentation will be looking at the work of the women and their status in the social structure of the country. As noted earlier, the Whiangainga or the Sacred Covenant continues. The respect accorded to women and girls sees the brother doing all that the sister wants, even cooking and burn his face to provide for his sister. As the sacred offspring, the female member is born with her identity. They are producers of cultural wealth and treasures. They are their covenants. The brother protects her even with his life. And they are the peacemakers, the ones putting family and village affairs in order, and they model harmony. In the same way, the giftedness of women, hands that keep us together. The hands that are committed, and the hand that is most frequently symbolized as part of the human body. Hands that are responsible for life, the many ideas and talents put together with lightening the burden, lightening the work within the family, and the strength that comes from many hands putting together, not as individuals, but as a group. They clean, they cook, they nurture, and they maintain peace. The hands that work as a team, in one saying in Samoa, ele sua le lolo I se popo se tasi, literally mean one coconut will not be enough to make oil. So there's many hands that need to work to keep us together. Working as a team will ensure the dream is achieved. Keeping us together are the hands that cooperate, the hands that work together, the hands that unite to achieve a common goal, the hands that are tied together for the benefit of all, and the hands that bind us together. Hands that support. When many hands and bodies are put together, more can be done. Much can be achieved. Teamwork with individual commitments. Yeah, 2 more slides. Yeah. And group effort ensures big achievement. They encourage us and they encourage their children to do well. And they help us to maintain order, they support our ideas and protect our families. Hands that produce and nurture, women can do anything. They are symbol of holiness, goodness, knowledge, wisdom, grace, hope, and God's revelation. Women can do anything. They are the womb that bears family lineage. They sustain village, church, and traditions. They are nurses, teachers, carers. They hug and cuddle when we are sick. They teach us faith and humility. We have traditional healers. Their hands heal the sick. Their hands soothe the pain. They do traditional massage. As said, they are tongiola mo lato wainga, blessings for families. Their families revitalize. Their hands rescues the lost, and even giving their life to their brothers. Depend on them for survival through the work of their hands. Depend on them for relief and support. They are the peacemakers. They continue genealogical lines and relationships. Skillful and talented hands. I'll skip that one and the next as I have 2 more minutes. And in our small parish at All Saints, women are responsible and lead our prayer groups every Wednesday. Women priests and women lay ministers outweigh their male counterparts. Our Moana Children's Ministry and Sunday School, our church cleaning, church linen, morning tea, and gardening. And my short story. I grew up in the Anglican Church. Mom was a Catholic. I was baptized, confirmed, and married in the Anglican Church. My parents were not church people. They did all things for the church, sent us to church, but only turn up when we perform on special Sundays. Turning point was when my dad got into an accident, and from then on, they have not turned back. Dad became a lay minister, and Mum is now our fierce prayer warrior. My being here is through the work of the many hands that have shaped me to who I am and what I am today. What I am today and who I have become, I owe to my family, my grandparents, my parents, my aunties, my uncles, my church family, and the many hands that nurtured, supported, and cared for me. I am the outcome of the proverb, it takes a village to raise a child. The many hands that have contributed to my upbringing, this is for you all. To conclude, I reiterate the precious taonga, the iatonga, the fine mat. Our precious treasure, our women, and the work of their hands to see their families, village, and church through its challenges. The many roles and characteristics of women in the fabric of covenant, significance and uniqueness of the fiber determines their worth, and the many roles and responsibilities of women and their hands put together to produce a unique result, and the colorful work of their hands. As noted in the earlier analogy, when we see the fine mat, we see the wonders of the work of women and the usefulness and the giftedness of their hands. To them we say, Sa'o fa'alalilei, wamalie malo, Sa'o fa'alalilei, Chususu. Thank you.
Wow, that was wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for a well-prepared presentation that took us through Samoa, your culture, and we know a lot about the women of Samoa now. And now we will invite Reverend Dr. Eseta to take the floor for her presentation. Thank you.
Tēnei te mihi nui kia koutou o wahine ma mō koutou I toro mai te ringa kia hau. He honore nui. Kia tuahau ki tēnei hui. I te tuatahi ka mihi au ki te mana whenua. Kia ora, I Sambula Vinaka. I'd like to thank the Anglican Women's Studies Center for inviting me. It is an honor and a privilege to be part of this Women's Hui. It's been a busy weekend for me because I've taken my students for a retreat. So they are there with Levatongo Frank, and I brought myself back here, and then I would go back there. So it's a hectic weekend. With the theme of many hands, I decided to explore the topic from a Pacific point of view, titled Sautu, the flourishing of women through Solisolivaki, and an exploration into Exodus 1 and Exodus 2. I'm a Fiji, Solomon Islands woman whose grandfather left the Solomon Islands as a young man to work in Fiji during the indentured labor days, with the intention to look for his older brothers who were blackbirded or slave traded during the late 1880s. Being born to an Itoke or a Fijian mother meant that I'm a Vasu Itoke, whose mother is of the land. So I'm exploring this topic as a Fijian woman through Fijian woman theologian and developing an indigenous theology on the flourishing of women around the concept of Sautu, and from an indigenous woman's theological lens. So Sautu, what does it mean for us? The word Sautu literally means good, flourishing, plentiful, and well-being. So in this paper, Sautu as a term will be used across the board culturally, theologically, and symbolically to describe an indigenous knowledge base of how we know what we know and do what we do holistically. Sau reflects being imbued with mana. Mana meaning power, sacred, arising from one's positions or performances to the role. Tu is to rise, or at the end of the word Sautu, tu could also mean tunde, or stable, firm, secure, solid. So Sautu for an individual means flourishing, not only through one's own mana, but the mana of each individual family. Sautu is an Itoke term which describes plentiful, flourishing, peace, tranquility, or a state of well-being. Whether it's defined loosely or constructively, it would be always seen as a term that is holistic. And so for us, in our own individual families, Sautu begins with the Matavuvale, or the family. Collaboration and unity come through doing things with one heart and one voice. Flourishing happens through Solisolivaki, and Solisolivaki means working collaboratively together with one mind and one voice. Now, Solisolivaki is a Fijian concept, meaning working together for the benefit of all, something like Ubuntu. The word sole, or so, could be pronounced as sole, in some parts of Fiji means to give. And this is not implying individual giving, but communal giving as a group. Communal giving is simply giving your time and talent so that a lot of work is done by many that is completed with so little time. Vaki simply implies to make it happen. So to Solevaki means to come together as one when building a house, cleaning the village, feeding the people who come for funerals or weddings, and other special occasions. People work together to ensure that everyone is taken care of and are happy with all that is happening. And so Sautu and Sol Solevaki, they work hand in hand, because without an individual Sautu, there is no Sol Solevaki. What I'm trying to say is, you and I, we have our own individual Sautu. We have our own individual mana. Women, or any individual for that matter, bring their Sau and mana with them to enable us to work together. Without your Sau, without my Sau, without your mana, we cannot work together as women. So where can we see this happening? In villages, in churches, in communities. So for us as women, as Lita has already said, women are the backbone of everything that brings about Sautu. If we are able to affect the people we are surrounded by, then we are Sau, we are mana. Sau, as mentioned before, is someone imbued with mana. Growing up within the Solomoni settlement of Matata, my mom, who's a staunch Methodist, has a lot of role she has played within my own Sau, within my own mana, and within the family. She looked after 12 siblings, and her Sau and her mana was seen in the way she took care of her younger siblings, because she was the eldest in the family. She brought that with her when she looked after us in our own family. She taught us how to pray, she taught us how to fast, bringing in a Wesleyan Methodist tradition of singandina, of being able to join the Methodist Youth Fellowship, having a personal relationship with Christ. That was her mana. That was her gift. For us as women, you have your own mana in raising your own family. You have your own mana in affecting other people, whether it is in the church, in the village, or in the community. And so the family, more than anything else, is the first and most central institution, which socially and theologically supports and enhances the well-being of any individual child. When a child is growing up within a Fijian family, or within any Pacifica family for that matter, when the child is being smothered, being wakamenemene, we are beginning to build a Sau in that individual person's life. And so within this relationship, there's always the va, as Lita has mentioned, the va tapuya, the sacredness that defines our relationship with each other within our own individual families. Within this sacred space, there is wakarorongo, intentional listening. There is wekawaitaki, putting the other first. There is loloma, loving the other. There is wetokoni, there is wetokani, always being there to support one another. There is werongrongovi, mutual listening. These values are cultivated and nurtured through the family. And when the family is seen to be doing well and can influence others by helping them achieve the small milestones they go through, that is said to be Bula Sautu. For us, we have done a lot of those things within our families, within the church. And so for us, over time, that sacred space brings about balance. It helps us to spread the love, spread the satisfaction through the building a holistic environment and the flourishing of the individual. For us as women, our Sautu and the way we affect others are surrounded by starts in the womb. In the Fijian family, when the mother is doted upon, is always taken care of, people are always making sure that she's looked after well. We are building her sau. We are building her mana. It's not only for her, but also for the child within her womb. And so the mother's sautu can only be achieved through the family and the community rallying around her, taking care of her. So the many hands that are there not only treasure us, but empower us to be well and to flourish. And this ensures good health, not only of the mother, but the baby as well. So the act of treasuring one another by weaving together the talents that each individual's have to enable the mother enables us to have sau, enables us to have respect for another, enables us to be empowered. So if we look around our diocese and observe the groups that we have, which groups function throughout the year, it's usually the women's groups. It's usually the women's groups. Each individual woman have their God-given talents and gifts that they bring and use to contribute to the flourishing of the whole. This is clearly felt in the family and taken out from the family into the community. And this is not only practiced in big families, but also in small families. Even the face of this gathering, or the face of any beautiful gatherings that we have at home, from the food to the setup and how the occasion plays out, displays the talents and the resilience of women, thus speaking sautu and mana. So I'd like to thank the women who have brought this together. Within the history of Christianity in the Pacific, missionary wives played an important role in the life of the church. I want to bring us back here, the life of Sarah Selwyn. Not well educated, stood alongside her husband, learned te reo through Maori within the community, helped to looked after Maori kids who were sick, injured, taught the kids, stayed by her husband, went with her husband to the different areas Bishop Selwyn went to. But she could not do it alone, on her own. Who did she get the help of? Mrs. Cotton, Mrs. Dudley, and the maids. And throughout the different spaces that Bishop Selwyn began his mission, Sarah Selwyn seemed to have her own mana, and in the way she handled the people that she is surrounded by. Let's look to the scriptures. Looking at Exodus 1 and Exodus 2, I'm just going to highlight briefly the important events that involved courageous women which unfolded through this story. In chapter 1, chapter 1 speaks about the dramatic increase of the people of Israel after Joseph. The new king was fearful of what might happen, so he decides to put the whole of Israel to work, the Israelites, under forced labor. And so what did the king do, or what did Pharaoh do when he saw that the population began to increase? So the king went and spoke to 2 Hebrew midwives to kill every individual Hebrew boy that was born to any Hebrew woman. But there were 2 Hebrew midwives that were there at that time, Puah and Shiphrah, did not do so. These 2 women were courageous and faithful to God. And when asked, they answered to the king of Egypt in saying, Hebrew women are stronger than Egyptian women. Before we could get to them, they had already given birth. And what did God do? God blessed the midwives because of the respect and the fear that they have of God. What did the king do? He made an order to throw all male babies born into the Nile. Chapter 2. A baby was born to a Levite woman. After 3 months, she had the courage to weave the basket within those 3 months and put this baby into the basket. Put it along the reeds so that it will float to wherever it would go. She felt that God would take care of that baby like the way He has always taken care of them, the Israelites. Who followed? The baby's sister followed. While looking from the reeds, she saw that Pharaoh's daughter was bathing in the river, had gotten hold of the basket. And slowly, she came up and she said, I can look for somebody to look after that baby. There are few women's manna seen in this story that enabled the empowerment and resilience of Moses as a child and as one who became a great leader of Israel. Firstly, the 2 Hebrew midwives, poor or splendid, and Shiphrah, they feared God. They honored and respected God and made sure that they stay in line with God, who has saved their ancestors and disobeyed Pharaoh's command to kill every Hebrew boy. The second one, the mother of the baby. She had faith. She was empowered by God to weave that basket and decided to do what no mother ever thought of: how to save the baby. Number 3, the baby's sister, Miriam, one of the first women to have manna and sow, and one of the first women to be called a prophet. Exodus 15:20. She later played a part with her brothers in leading the Israelites to freedom, singing praises to God as they watched the Egyptians being swallowed by the Red Sea. Fourthly, Pharaoh's daughter. She had compassion. She had love, without whom Moses would not have survived the wrath of her father. All these women played an important role in the early periods of Moses' life. Each woman have their own manna and sow to enable the safe upbringing of the leader in that God-given space and time. So the sow of these women, or the sow and manna of these women, started from their ancestors, and how they have always trusted God to empower them in whatever situation they go through. This is a classic example of women playing their role, doing their part to enable the flourishing of a great leader who led the Israelites out of the oppressed, depressed, abused, overused, discriminatory situations that they have been through. These women had one thing. They understood the importance of relationships within each other, the importance of relationships they have with God. Being disrespectful and disobedient would be the last thing on their mind as Hebrew women. For Pharaoh's daughter, her sow too came through her upbringing as a woman who has been shown love and given love. This was seen through the compassion she had for the baby. So in conclusion, what does this mean for us as women? In my conclusion, our sow too as women starts from us. It starts from here, from the heart. Our flourishing and the flourishing of others around us is a great source of empowerment that aids resilience through challenging times. Sometimes, even we as women, we become stumbling blocks to the flourishing of other women. because of negativity, and we fail to see the power we have when we come together as women. Our sacred relationships come through our culture, our relationships with creation and with God. And so this sacred space, Wa, or the Watapuia, which is our sacred relationship, builds within our sacred space that informs boundaries, protocols, and how we relate to each other as women. The theme of this Hui, Many Hands, clearly relates to our talents, our skills, our gifts, our experiences, our knowledge, our understandings as individuals and as members of our respective tikangas. Through the many hands that we have come through, we can always create something new, something great. And this can happen through caring and nurturing, as Lita has already mentioned. This can happen through embracing each other as women and building intentional, positive, responsive, and great relationships. Thank you. And so, I thought I'd just speak for a short while. I thought, as women, when we speak of many hands, we can speak of many hands in a lot of ways. I want us to, I've bought a few banners just for us to showcase those many hands in painting the banners that we have. In whatever language you want to use, whatever the many hands you think means to you, let's put it in our banners. It's in a 3 tikanga. If we can get into our own tikangas and build up that banner that we have, that I have already prepared. And there's 2 on that side, and there's 1 inside in the big table. So, yeah, thank you.